Glad you're here. I'm Jen Lepore, Marketing Team Coordinator here at Custom Processing Services. And today we're talking about customer care at CPS with our Client Services Manager, Mike Weinhold. With about a decade of business development and client services experience here at CPS, Mike is the perfect person to walk us through what happens behind the scenes once a purchase order is placed, all the way to the end of the campaign, and also to share a little background on how CPS approaches customer care. So thank you for joining me, Mike.
No problem.
Let's kick things off. Can you tell us a little bit about your role here at CPS and what customer care looks for you kind of on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I've been with CPS for, I guess it's 11 years now. The whole time, pretty much, I've been customer facing, whether it was business development or client services. And to me, client care is kind of just being proactive with clear communication that reduces the customer's anxiety and kind of prioritizing the long-term relationship over a short-term win.
Let's do a little bit of what happens after we've received the purchase order. So some customers might assume once they submit a PO, the process mostly is automatic. So what actually starts happening on your end once an order comes in?
Yeah, I like to think it's automatic because it is pretty smooth, but it's not. It's kind of a process of taking the customer's language in their purchase order and converting it to a CPS communicative language. We take all the order details of when the raw materials come in, how many pieces they want, all that, and turn it into a sales order within our system, which ends up becoming an order on the production floor. So it's kind of just taking that information and converting it into language that goes out to everybody that they can understand what the order is, when it's needed, and all the details.
So are there one or two behind the scene details customers might not realize can, impact the timing or execution after their PO is submitted?
One of them would definitely be the raw material delivery date. You might not know right off the bat when your ship's going to come in or when the earlier processing step's going to have it completed. But your best guess is really going to help us find a slot where your material fits well. And if that date does shift, communicating that as soon as you know is also important because we'll find you another slot. But if it gets too close and we don't know, it kind of comes and goes and you get worked in where we can work you back in then. So that communication from the customer is important. Another piece that a lot of customers don't think about is ambient temperatures and conditions. That can have a drastic impact on the processing rate. So we might be planning to run a product at X rate. And if it's, hot and humid randomly in the middle of May in Pennsylvania, it might run at 25% of that rate or something like that. So the overall completion of your order can be impacted by the conditions that are at play here in Pennsylvania.
Wow, interesting. So, let's take it to the next notch. So let's talk about communication. What kind of comes to mind when you think about your team's mission, being the voice of the customer internally at CPS?
We try to think of ourselves as like the liaison between the customer and CPS and the customer. So when we're sitting in meetings or, the daily huddles that focus on the day and week's production, we try to put ourselves in the customer's shoes of what would they want us to do in this situation so that it's a mutual benefit between what's best for CPS and what's best for the customer.
So how do you and your team decide what to communicate proactively versus gets communication as needed?
You can't really over communicate. I don't think customers often will say, this guy won't leave me alone because he keeps giving me updates on my production run. But you kind of feel it out by the customer's preferences. Some of them, don't want to know anything until it's done. Don't bother them. Some people want, that weekly or even a couple times a week update. So you just kind of feel them out and see what they want.
So when a customer has a question or a concern, how do you handle the response? What exactly can the customers expect from CPS?
There's a couple different answers, I guess. There's the quick ones that pop right into your head, like, oh, I know that your stuff will be done, next week, and we'll we'll get your shipment set up for you. But a lot of times the questions are a little bit more complex, and you need to lean on the other subject matter experts within the business to provide that answer. So part of what we'll do is bring those groups together. If it's a production question, if it's an inventory question, if it's a quality question, we'll coordinate all of those people together, get them in the same room, get the answer, and then communicate it as quickly as we can. But getting that many people in the same room is sometimes difficult. But
So let's go on to the next thing, where it's kind of real world examples here at CPS, kind of like a little bit of the stories from the front lines of our company. So obviously, without sharing confidential details, of course, can you kind of share a story that demonstrates what customer care looks like in practice at CPS?
So a lot of our customers, they don't have the opportunity or privilege of reviewing and seeing their raw material when they order it from their supplier or their previous processing step. So our team, specifically the production and quality elements of our business, kind of need to be the eyes and ears of their business and advise if they see anything that looks out of the ordinary. That could be a difference in the color, in the shape of the particles, the size, the packaging label. Anything that looks off, they're often trying to find that, and they'll let me or someone on my team know. We reach out to the customer and we let them know what we're seeing so that we can kind of maybe prevent that problem from escalating further down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you recall a situation where your teams made, a meaningful difference for our customer? Either preventing a problem or kind of solving one rather quickly?
I know our production team, they'll catch some inconsistencies with the raw material. I can think of one where, sometimes the color isn't 100% the same from sack to sack, drum to drum, or everything. And they'll usually pick that out. And most times it doesn't mean anything, but I can think of one scenario where we advised that there was a color shift. It ended up that the end application was a paint, so color is very important. And it kind of put the pause on wasting the production time in raw materials to make that if it wasn't the correct color. So it helped down the road.
Oh, awesome. So what did you take away from that situation that you can still apply today?
I think I'd say advise on everything, because it might be nothing. It might not make a difference to the customer, but it could be something substantial like that where we want to put a pause on the run and see if that color change or that particle difference or label difference is something that prevents us from moving forward. So always advise.
You kind of bring in, with the customers and notifying us ahead of time, and the communication between customers to us is very substantial. So, for our customers that are listening, from your perspective, what information or preparation from a customer kind of helps you support them best throughout a project?
I can't stress it enough. The raw material dates for when your materials are going to arrive to CPS is really important to us. I know sometimes they're on a boat. Sometimes there's a pre-step. There's weather that prevents trucks from leaving the docks and stuff like that. But the best guess date and clear communication about when that shifts really helps us with ensuring that the raw material's on site when we want to process it. And the other piece is I see a lot of purchase orders come through from customers that say, requested timing is ASAP, which I understand everybody wants this as soon as possible, but realistic timing about when your customer needs that material back is helpful for us, because if it's not needed for 3 months or something, maybe we could move some things that are coming in front of that and still hit your timing. But if it is 2 weeks after receipt of feed, we'd like to know that as well. So just a clear, realistic timing on when that product is needed is good for us.
You touched on, those few small things customers can do can make all the difference in collaborating to, avoid the delays and align on the priorities, which is great. So now kind of talking more along the lines of how do you personally define success in your role?
Well, we want our customers to look good within their organization. They're usually the ones that are making a conscious decision to pick CPS as their processing partner. And we want them to have quick, easy, accurate information to take from the processing floor back to their organization to provide updates to their boss, to their stakeholders, everybody that's involved there. We want to give them good information so that they can keep their deadlines with the step after us or the customer that they're shipping to and everything. So just ensuring that they have the information to look like they're a top performer within their organization is successful in my mind for our area.
That's a good answer. So, what things tell you customer care is working?
I'm going to plug our customer satisfaction survey here because we do send that out on a quarterly basis to everybody that did business with us in that quarter. I encourage everyone that gets one to fill them out. I mean, if you have something you want to say, there's a short answer there. There's some questions about how the different areas of our business are performing. So that feedback really tells the entire organization where we might need some help or where we're performing well or what we need to do to best suit our customer needs. So that survey is important. It might be just another email in your inbox, but it's important to us.
Last question. If you can sum up CPS's approach to customer care in a sentence or two, what would it be?
I'd like our customers to feel like our client services coordinators and the entire team at CPS is an extension of their business, that we're kind of like the inside guys at the processing facility. They can depend on us for clear, consistent answers. And, I think that leads to a long-term partnership, which is good for both companies.
Mike, thanks for walking us through what customer care looks like at CPS and, how your team supports customers from purchase order through the aftercare. And thank you all for tuning in to this month's Custom Processing Services Toll Manufacturer Minute. To learn more about how CPS can help you achieve your goals, reach out anytime. Also, be sure to subscribe to CPS blog to rewatch or catch up on podcast episodes and get the latest news and insights from our experts. And we'll catch you next time.